Hello everybody, it's Steph Davis here from flipthiswholesaler.net. I have a brand new Q&A video that I wanted to share with you guys today. Hopefully you will find it helpful. I received this email earlier this week. It's a question that I get quite often, so I thought I would share it with everyone. The question reads, "Hello Steph. I went driving for dollars for the first time last weekend and have a list of 25 properties that were abandoned and or in really bad shape. My problem is I don't know where to go from here. How do I find out who the owner is and where to send a letter? Are there any websites that I can use to get this information? Thanks in advance, Ivan." All right, that is an excellent question, Ivan. So a lot of folks, when they're getting started, one of the marketing methods that they do, especially if you are on a tight budget, is driving for dollars, where you just go out, drive through neighborhoods, look for vacant, boarded up, abandoned properties, and then market to, or attempt to market to, the owners of those properties. So Ivan has gone out and done that already, and congratulations on taking action on that, Ivan. You've got 25 properties. How do you go about finding the owner information? So I'm going to show you kind of the process that I go through, the due diligence that I do when I have leads like this. Say I'm out driving around, I see some abandoned properties, the due diligence that I do to find out who the owner is, what their mailing address is, and whether or not I should market to them at all. So I do all of this using my county's public records websites. Now, they're going to be different in, depending on what county you're in. Every county is different, but in most areas, the information that I'm going to show you that I'm able to get here, you can get in most other counties, not all. And the websites themselves are going to work a little bit differently, so you're going to have to take some time to get to know each of the sites in your area. But I highly, highly suggest, if you haven't done so already, that you become familiar with the your county's online public sites, because as you'll see here in just a second, they can be a wealth of information. I honestly don't know what I would do if I did not have access to these websites. Use them all the time. So first of all, if you do not know which of your county's public records are online, you can go to this website. It's netronline.com. Click on Public Records Online, and then you can just put your city and state in here. So I'm going to put St. Petersburg, Florida, and click on Convert. And let's see, you can see here it pulls up my county, Pinellas County. So I'm going to click on the county. And here are all of the websites that are available for Pinellas County. So we have the county property appraiser, the county clerk or recorder, the tax collector, and the Pinellas County mapping. The two that I use the most are the top two, the property appraiser site and the Pinellas County clerk or recorder's office. And those are the two sites that I'm going to be showing you here in this example. So I just pulled two addresses of properties that were for sale off of Zillow at random, and I'm just going to show you how I go about doing this. So I'm going to start at, the first thing I want to find out is who the owner is, and so I'm just going to go into the property appraiser site. And again, in some counties you might not be able to do this, or in some counties the name of the office, it might not be called the property appraiser, it might be called something else. So just take some time, go to that NETR online site, see what your county has available, and go take a look at each one of those sites and get to know them to figure out if you're able to do these searches, and if so, how to do them and which site to do them on. So the first address I pulled was 2701 12th Street South. So I'm going to put that 2701 12th Street South, and it comes up that it's Deutsche Bank. And that's one of you'll find that will happen quite often if you're out driving for dollars. If you see boarded up properties or properties that are in disrepair, a lot of times they will be bank-owned properties. So that's the first thing that I want to find out, is who the owner is. If it's a bank, you do not want to bother trying to send them a direct mail piece, because it's going to go right in the garbage. They take their properties and they have a process that they go through, and they put them on the MLS. So if you see that it's a bank that comes up, a large bank like this, just don't bother sending a direct mail piece. If you wanted to, you could go onto the MLS or Redfin or Zillow or whatever you're using and make an offer that way, make an offer through an agent if it's listed on the MLS. But for the sake of this example, for what we're talking about in this video, we're just going to move along to the next example, which is 625 27th Avenue South. And here we see there's two, this is not a bank-owned property, they're two private owners, Jose and Rosa Gill. So I'm going to click on this here, and this will open up the file. So now I know who the owners are. These two here are the owners, and also if you notice, the mailing address is different from the actual site address. So this is good. It looks like they are out of state. They live in New York, so they're out-of-state owners. So now I know where to send my direct mail piece. I know who the owner is. I know where to send my direct mail piece. The next thing I always check out is when they purchased the property and for how much. So I'm going to scroll down to the sales here. Looks like they purchased this in 2016 for $65,000. The reason that I want to know when the property was purchased and for how much was paid for it is because if I go in and I see that a property was just purchased and it was purchased at full retail value, I'm not going to bother sending a direct mail piece. There's no point in mailing to properties that have no equity. In this case, I know this area pretty well. I know that $65,000 is well below market value. If you are, if you're looking at leads and you don't know your area that well, you could go onto the MLS or Zillow and look at the comps and see. It doesn't have to be exact, but if you see, like, let's say that the sale date here was March of 2019 and they paid $165,000 for it, I'm not going to send them a direct mail piece because there's no equity. So that's the other piece of information that I want to know. Another thing that I usually look at is if you look here in the middle of the page where it says 2018 tax information, and here it says 2018 tax bill. That's a link. If you click on that, for some reason it's not working right now, but normally when you click on that, it will take you to the Pinellas County tax website, so you can see if the owners are current on their taxes or if they're behind. A lot of times that can be an indication. If you click on that and you see that they have unpaid taxes, that can be a good sign of motivation. It was working earlier, and they're all caught up on their taxes. So that's it for this website, the property appraiser website. The next thing I'm going to do is go to the county clerk website, and I'm just going to do a search. I usually do a search for both. If there's multiple owners, I'll do a search for both of their names. I'm just going to show you hers for right now. So I'm going to go to the county clerk website, and I can do a name search. Now on this website, on the county clerk or the recorder's website, you can find things like deeds, mortgages, liens, judgments, all kinds of stuff. So you can find out, you can get a good picture a lot of times with what is going on with the seller. If they have a bunch of liens on their properties, if they have, if they're mortgaged to the hilt, I can look up the specific property and see if, like, say they just refinanced it and they pulled all of the equity out, then I'm not going to bother with it. So I'm just going to put her name in here, and let's see what comes up. So we have 2 records that came up here. Sometimes there will be hundreds, sometimes it's just a few, but I'm going to go ahead and see what these are. All right, so it looks like there is a deed. If you look in this column right here, it says document type. There's all different types of documents that can pop up, but we have a deed and then a judgment. So if you look over here too, and this isn't important, this isn't so important at all when you have a situation like this where there are only 2 documents that pop up, the deed and the judgment. But when you're dealing with someone, like I said a minute ago, sometimes you do a search for a person and there are 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 files that come up. You want to make sure, like in this instance, I want to see if there's a mortgage on that property or not, and if there is a mortgage, how long ago it was taken out. In this case, there is not a mortgage, but to make sure that I'm looking at the right property, if I look here in this column that says legal legal description, it says Lot 15 Oak Harbor Subdivision. And then if I go back to the property appraiser site, see where the legal description is here right in the middle, Oak Harbor Lot 15. So that tells me that that deed is belongs to this property. So like I said, it doesn't really matter now in this instance, but if you are dealing with someone who has a ton of houses and mortgages, if you look at the legal description, you can tell which one goes with which. So there's just the deed here, which means there's no mortgage, and that would indicate that they paid cash for it, so that's good. And then here, if I look at the judgment, I'm just going to click on this just out of curiosity to see what it is. And let's see, this looks like it is a judgment of eviction. So it looks like we have some out-of-state landlords here that filed an eviction. This was back in 2017. So they're out-of-state landlords. They own their property free and clear. I've got their address where they live in New York, so this would definitely be an instance where I would either give them a call if I could find their phone number, or send them a direct mail piece, or both. So I hope that clarifies. One other thing I wanted to point out, if you're not, a lot of times when you go to, you look up the address and you cannot find the owner's current mailing address, like here, I lucked out because their mailing address is here, but sometimes it just gives the actual site address of the vacant house. Something that you can try and do is go to this website. I've emailed about this before. It's called Find People Search. It's free. It's findpeoplesearch.com, and you can do a skip trace basically and see if you can find the owners that way. It's a handy tool. Like I said, it's free. I use it all the time. It's been pretty accurate. So anyway, I hope that helps, Ivan, to kind of give you an idea of what to do with those leads. Again, I want to emphasize, if you guys who are listening and watching, if you haven't gotten familiar with your county's online record sites, I highly suggest that you do it. They are a wealth of information, and just the stuff that I've showed you in this short video is just the tip of the iceberg. There are all kinds of different, I can do some more videos and show you some more stuff if you guys want, but definitely take some time if you haven't done so and get to know your county's public records sites. That will do it for today. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments on my blog. I'll do my best to answer. That's all for today. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.